Okay, so I've given you the 3 important tips. Okay, so with this, okay, let's see how the tips are going to turn out. Okay, so define what is balance of payment. Okay, you want to identify the components of balance of payment, which is your current account and capital and financial account. Net error and omission I didn't cover earlier on. This is one of the smallest account that is not important. Okay, you can omit this. Okay, as a good practice, you would like to define, okay, what is current account, okay, what is your capital and financial account, and you want to look into the categories of oil exporting and oil importing countries. Okay, at the very least, okay, your introduction paragraph should tell me the definition for balance of payment, which is what we have learned earlier on, and you should be able to tell me what are the profiles of the country based on the preamble. Oil importing and oil exporting countries. Okay, so for oil importing countries, a sustained oil price will be detrimental or affect its BOP negatively. So how can we conclude that? Okay, remember, okay, the same assumption for PED can be made for oil importing countries, right? So oil importing countries will experience PED being price demand inelastic due to nature of a necessity good, or you can talk about lack of reliable substitutes. Okay, crude oil has no reliable substitutes. And oil importing countries will have to spend more on oil products, importing oil products, and worsening the current account. So the concept that we want to use here, okay, would be, okay, a demand diagram, and you want to illustrate when there's an increase in price of crude oil, when your demand is sufficiently price demand inelastic, increase in price will lead to a less than proportional decrease in quantity demanded, and okay, so the blue rectangle, okay, will be your consumer spending initial. The green one, okay, will be your consumer spending final. Okay, so we can see that the green rectangle is bigger than the blue rectangle. As a rule of thumb, whenever you want to illustrate spending or revenue, recommend this diagram. Okay, you show this diagram, okay, and you can use, okay, areas to represent spending and revenue. Okay, so you can see that oil expenditure, okay, to buy oil from oil exporting countries will rise from AB to AC. The long run variation is not necessary. Okay, but in a nutshell, it tells you what happens to the current account in the long run. Okay, in the long run, okay, oil importing countries will experience a worsening of the current account. Okay, improvement in the current account, sorry. Why? Okay, this is where your PED becomes price elastic. So we realize that in the long run, okay, the consumers, they are able to find a reliable source of other reliable forms of energy. For instance, okay, they can reduce their reliance on oil. Okay, PED is going to be greater than 1. Then we can reverse the initial, okay, deficit in the current account. But the effects on capital and financial account is important. Okay, so we can see that persistent high oil prices will lead to few things. Number one, cost push inflation in oil importing countries. And okay, for foreign direct investments, okay, would you like to invest in a country that is susceptible to inflation and lower profitability? You don't want, right? Okay, but because of high oil prices, this will drive out your production costs for oil importing countries. Then in that case, okay, there will be a fall in foreign direct investment. A worsening of your capital and financial account. So this is how you want to connect between high oil prices and capital and financial account. Okay, you want to relate to foreign direct investments. Oil exporting countries will be the reverse. Oil exporting countries, okay, will gain from the oil importing countries with higher oil prices using the same approach. Okay, higher oil prices. Okay, oil exporting countries will experience a gain in revenue from AB to AC. Okay, so the entire illustration is the same. Okay, so this is the short run approach. If you develop the oil importing countries already, then you don't need to spend a lot of time to redevelop here because it's the same. Okay, you can just afford to illustrate improvement in your current account with higher export revenue. Okay, so the long run, I'm going to box this, is going to be optional. So earlier on, under all importing countries, we have deduced that in the long run, consumer pattern will change. They will develop substitutes to oil, okay, like solar, nuclear, hydro, whatever energy. Likewise, in the long run, all exporting countries will face competitors. Okay, especially consumers will develop other sources of reliable source of energy. Okay, you'll get used to using them. And therefore, okay, with higher oil prices, your PED being elastic in the long run, okay, your current account will worsen. So the hardest to develop is always a capital and financial account. Okay, you need to make certain key assumptions here. Okay, we realize that for all exporting countries, you realize that okay, it's going to be very profitable in the crude oil business, right? Selling crude oil will be very profitable and lucrative. Okay, and therefore, this is likely to attract investments related to crude oil activities. Okay, there will be more oil exploration, okay, more oil drilling, okay, more oil activities in these countries. Okay, so people, firms like ExxonMobil, BP, okay, will invest in these countries, set up oil rigs. Then this will lead to a strengthening of your capital and financial account due to higher foreign direct investments. Okay, so generally, okay, the current account and the capital account should go in the same direction. They should sing the same song. Okay, if your current account improves, your capital and financial account is likely to improve. Okay, likely. Alright, I'm going to go through some of the observations. Okay, definitions and the identifying of the respective accounts are not there. Okay, so you need to identify all importing and all exporting countries before you can have a more meaningful discussion. Okay, so the minimum requirement is to illustrate the effects on the current account. Okay, if you want to score a little bit more, capital and financial account. Okay, short run, long run variation is not required. Okay, and how do we know PED is required? Number one, prices of oil. Number two, oil being the role of being an important role, right? You use oil on a daily basis as a necessity. So I want you all to be extremely sensitive to keywords such as oil. Okay, so oil, prices, and BOP is normally, we look at current account, we look at X minus M, right? Export revenue. These three concepts will point out that PED is an important assumption. If you don't bring in PED, okay, you won't score the credit in the current account. Okay, and some of the students, okay, when they panic, they throw in AD and AS. This question is not about macro goals. It's not about actual growth. It's not about unemployment. If you throw in AD and AS, okay, you are going to throw your essay away. Okay, so go straight into CA and KFA here.